Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
Ethan called out as the key turned in the lock of his sprawling suburban mansion. He stepped inside, loosening his tie, feeling the weight of another long day at the office settle over him. The house was quiet. Almost too quiet. "Lily?" He called again, his voice echoing through the cavernous foyer. He found her in the kitchen, arranging flowers in a vase. Her shoulder-length brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she wore yoga pants and a fitted top. She glanced up as he entered, her blue eyes cool and distant. "You are home," she said, her tone flat, impersonal. Ethan leaned in for a kiss, but at the last moment, Lily turned her cheek. His lips grazed her skin instead of meeting hers. He pulled back, a frown creasing his brow. "How was your day?" he asked, trying to keep his voice light. Lily shrugged, her attention back on the flowers. "Fine. The kids are already in bed." Ethan nodded, unsure what else to say. The silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. He loosened his tie further, feeling like it was choking him. "I have a big project coming up," he said, attempting to fill the void. "The Riverside development. It is going to be huge for the company." Lily made a noncommittal sound, not looking up from her task. Ethan's shoulders slumped. When had their conversations become so strained? He could not pinpoint the exact moment, but the distance between them had been growing for months. "I'm going to check on the kids," he said finally, retreating from the kitchen. As he climbed the stairs, Ethan's mind raced. He paused outside Olivia's room, pushing the door open quietly. His 13-year-old daughter was fast asleep, her features peaceful in the dim light. Next, he peeked into 7-year-old Jack's room. The boy was curled up tightly, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Ethan's heart clenched. He had missed bedtime again. How many stories had he not read? How many goodnight kisses had he skipped? The mounting pressure at work was taking its toll, not just on him, but on his family as well. Returning downstairs, he found Lily in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She did not look up as he entered. "I was thinking," Ethan began hesitantly, "maybe we could take a weekend trip soon. Just the two of us. It has been a while since we have had time alone." Lily's eyes flicked up to meet his, then back to her phone. "I do not know, Ethan. I have a lot going on right now." "Right," he said, deflating. "Of course. Maybe another time." He retreated to his home office, closing the door behind him. Sitting at his desk, he buried his face in his hands. What was happening to them? They used to be so in sync, finishing each other's sentences, laughing at inside jokes. Now, every interaction felt forced. Every silence was loaded with unspoken tension. Ethan's phone buzzed, jolting him from his thoughts. A message from his business partner and close friend, Adam. "Need to talk ASAP. Big changes coming for the Riverside project. Call me." Ethan sighed, glancing at the time. It was late, but the Riverside project was their biggest deal yet. He could not afford to let anything slip through the cracks. He dialed Adam's number, bracing himself for another long night of business discussions. But even as he talked with Adam, going over blueprints and zoning laws, Ethan could not shake the feeling that something was off. Not just with Lily, with everything. A nagging sensation in the pit of his stomach told him that his carefully constructed world was about to crumble. He just did not know how right he was. Ethan arrived home earlier than usual, determined to spend quality time with his family. He found Lily in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. "Hey," he said, setting his briefcase down. "Need any help?" Lily glanced up, surprise flickering across her face. "You are home early. Thought I would try to make it for dinner for once," Ethan replied with a small smile. "Where are the kids?" "Olivia is at soccer practice. Jack is upstairs playing video games." Ethan nodded, rolling up his sleeves. "I will go get him to set the table." As he turned to leave, Lily's voice stopped him. "Ethan." He looked back, hope rising in his chest. "Yeah?" For a moment, something softer crossed Lily's features. Then it was gone, replaced by her now familiar mask of indifference. "Never mind," she said. "It is not important." Ethan's shoulders slumped as he climbed the stairs. Later that evening, as Ethan helped clear the table, he noticed Lily acting strangely. She kept glancing at her phone, her movements jittery and nervous. When she thought he was not looking, she slipped out of the kitchen and into the hallway. Curiosity piqued, Ethan followed quietly. He watched as Lily glanced around furtively before reaching up to the air vent near the ceiling. With practiced ease, she slipped something into the vent and quickly replaced the cover. Ethan's heart began to race. What was she hiding? He waited until Lily had returned to the kitchen before approaching the vent. Standing on tiptoes, he carefully removed the cover and reached inside. His fingers closed around something small and rectangular. A phone. A burner phone, to be precise. With shaking hands, Ethan turned on the device. The screen lit up, revealing a new message. He will be gone tonight. It is our chance. Come over, and we will have a wild night together. Ethan's world tilted on its axis. The phone slipped from his numb fingers, clattering to the floor. He stumbled back, leaning against the wall for support. This could not be happening. Lily would not. She could not. But the evidence was right there in front of him. The secret phone. The hushed behavior. The growing distance between them. It all suddenly made horrifying sense. Who was she meeting? How long had this been going on? What did it mean for their marriage? For their family? He heard footsteps approaching and quickly shoved the phone back into the vent, replacing the cover with trembling hands. He barely made it into the living room before Lily appeared. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice casual, but her eyes sharp and watchful. Ethan forced himself to meet her gaze, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Yeah, just getting some air. I think I might have to go back to the office for a bit." "The Riverside project?" Lily nodded, a strange expression crossing her face. Was it relief? Of course. Do not work too late. As Ethan drove away, his mind whirled. He needed proof. Concrete, undeniable evidence. Only then could he decide how to proceed. With a heavy heart, Ethan made a decision. He would set up hidden cameras throughout the house. The thought made him sick, but he had to know the truth. He had to see it with his own eyes. The next day, Ethan put his plan into motion. Instead of going to the office, he drove to an electronics store in the next town over, purchasing a set of small, wireless cameras. His hands shook as he installed them. One in a bookshelf in the living room. Another disguised as a smoke detector in the hallway. A third tucked into a potted plant. Now, he would know everything. Each placement felt like a betrayal. A violation of the trust that should have been the foundation of his marriage. But the memory of that text message steeled his resolve. He had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. That evening, Ethan announced that he had to go back to the office to deal with a crisis on the Riverside project. Lily barely looked up from her phone, merely nodding in acknowledgement. "Do not wait up," Ethan said, his voice surprisingly steady given the turmoil inside him. "This might take all night." "Okay," Lily replied, her tone indifferent. "Drive safe." Ethan's chest tightened at her lack of concern, at how easily she accepted his absence. Had it always been this way? Had he just never noticed? Or was this a recent development, born from her apparent infidelity? He got into his car and drove. But instead of heading to the office, he parked down the street from their house. With shaking hands, he pulled out his phone and opened the app connected to the hidden cameras. For a long time, nothing happened. Lily moved around the house, tidying up, checking on the kids. Ethan's guilt grew with each passing minute. Maybe he had misunderstood. Maybe this was all a horrible mistake. Then, just as he was about to give up and drive home, he saw movement on the screen. Someone was walking up to their front door. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the figure. Adam, his business partner, his friend. Ethan watched in stunned disbelief as Lily opened the door, a smile lighting up her face. A smile Ethan had not seen directed at him in months. Adam stepped inside, and before the door even closed, he pulled Lily into embrace. The world tilted on its axis. Ethan's vision blurred. His ears rang. This could not be happening. Not Adam. Not the man he trusted with his business, his friendship, his confidences. But the evidence was right there on the screen. Undeniable. Devastating. Ethan watched, feeling sick, as Lily led Adam upstairs, out of view of the cameras. He sat there in his car for hours, alternating between numb disbelief and white-hot rage. Every foundation of his life had just been shattered. His marriage, his friendship, his trust, all destroyed in a single moment. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, Ethan finally stirred. He had decisions to make. Confronting them immediately would be too easy, too quick. No, this betrayal deserved something far more calculated. With a cold determination settling over him, Ethan started his car and drove away. He had work to do, plans to make, a life to rebuild from the ashes of betrayal. And as for Lily and Adam, they had no idea what was coming. But they would. Oh, they would. Adam Matthews stood in his corner office, staring out at the city skyline. His fingers drummed in an erratic rhythm on his polished mahogany desk. Something was not right. He could feel it in his bones. a nagging sensation that refused to dissipate. The Riverside project, their biggest deal to date, was falling apart. Investors were pulling out, citing unforeseen complications. Zoning permits that had seemed guaranteed were suddenly mired in red tape. And through it all, Ethan remained infuriatingly calm. Adam's phone buzzed. Another text from Lily. "We need to talk. Now." He sighed, rubbing his temples. Lily was becoming a liability. Her impatience, her constant demands for updates on their plan to push Ethan out, it was all too much. He had thought having an ally in Ethan's wife would make things easier. Instead, it was just another complication. A knock at the door interrupted his brooding. "Come in," he called, straightening his tie and plastering on a smile. Ethan walked in, looking as put together as always in his tailored suit. But there was something different about him lately. A coldness in his eyes that Adam could not quite place. "Adam," Ethan said, his voice carefully neutral. "We need to discuss the Thompson account." Adam nodded, gesturing for Ethan to take a seat. As they went over the details, Adam could not shake the feeling that he was missing something. Ethan's questions were pointed, almost accusatory. But every time Adam thought he caught a glimpse of suspicion in his partner's eyes, it vanished, replaced by that same inscrutable calm. Later that evening, as Adam was packing up to leave, his computer pinged with a new email. The sender was anonymous. The subject line simply read, "We know." With shaking hands, Adam opened the message. Inside was a single line of text, "The truth always comes out." Attached was a photo. Adam's blood ran cold as he recognized it, himself and Lily, locked in an embrace outside her favorite restaurant. The very place he had sworn they would never be seen together. Adam slammed his laptop shut, his heart pounding. Who had sent this? Who else knew? And more importantly, did Ethan know? He grabbed his phone, dialing Lily's number. She picked up on the first ring. "Adam?" Her voice was tense, wary. "We need to meet. Now. Something has happened." As he hung up, Adam could not shake the feeling that the walls were closing in. Someone was watching them. And whoever it was, they knew too much. Lily paced the length of her living room, her nerves frayed to the breaking point. Adam's cryptic call had left her rattled. Had Ethan found out? She glanced at the clock. Ethan would be home soon. She had to pull herself together, had to maintain the facade of the perfect wife. But it was getting harder with each passing day. The sound of a key in the lock made her freeze. Ethan walked in, his face unreadable. These days, it always was. "Hey," she said, forcing a smile. "How was work?" Ethan shrugged, setting down his briefcase. "Same as usual." "You okay? You look pale." Lily waved off his concern. "Just a headache. I think I might lie down for a bit." Ethan sat in his home office, a glass of scotch in hand, watching the feeds from the hidden cameras. Lily was in the bedroom, hunched over her phone. Even from a distance, he could see the fear in her posture. Good. He took a sip of his drink, savoring the burn. His own phone buzzed. A message from Claire. "Everything is in place. Ready when you are." Ethan allowed himself a small smile. Tomorrow, at the company's annual charity gala, he would tighten the noose. There was no turning back now. The game was in motion, and Ethan intended to win, no matter the cost. Olivia Caldwell was many things: a straight-A student, captain of the debate team, and at 13, already wise beyond her years. But right now, crouched in the hallway outside her parents' bedroom, she felt like nothing more than a scared little girl. She had not meant to eavesdrop. She had just been looking for her phone charger when she heard her father's voice, low and intense, coming from the master bedroom. Curiosity had gotten the better of her, and now she wished she had never heard a word. Hidden cameras. All over the house, her father was saying. I had to know the truth. Olivia's mind reeled. Hidden cameras? What truth? Jesus, Ethan. That was Claire, her father's old friend. The one who had been around a lot lately. And you were sure about Lily and Adam? I saw it with my own eyes, Claire. They have been having an affair for months. And that is not even the worst of it. They have been embezzling from the company, manipulating accounts. They were planning to push me out, leave me with nothing. Olivia clapped a hand over her mouth, stifling a gasp. Her mother. And Uncle Adam. It could not be true. And yet, it explained so much. The tension in the house. The way her parents barely spoke anymore. What are you going to do? Claire asked. A long silence. Then, when her father finally spoke, his voice was cold in a way she had never heard before. I am going to destroy them. Both of them. They will wish they had never even thought of betraying me. Olivia could not listen anymore. She stumbled back to her room, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. Her perfect family. Her perfect life. It had all been a lie. She sat on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest, trying to make sense of it all. Should she confront her parents? Tell her little brother? Run away? A soft knock at her door made her jump. Olivia? It was her father. Can I come in? She wanted to say no, wanted to pretend she was asleep, to hide from the truth a little longer. But some part of her, the part that had always been Daddy's little girl, made her call out, "Yeah, come in." Ethan entered, his face lined with worry. One look at Olivia's tear-streaked face, and he knew. "You heard," he said quietly. Olivia nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Ethan sighed, sitting down next to her on the bed. "I am so sorry, sweetheart. I never wanted you to find out like this. I never wanted you to find out at all." "Is it true?" Olivia whispered. "About Mom and Uncle Adam?" Ethan nodded, his eyes sad. "I am afraid so. And the cameras? You have been spying on us?" "Not on you or Jack," Ethan said quickly. "Never on you kids. I had to know what was going on." "I am so sorry, Olivia. I know this must be confusing and scary for you." Olivia was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, to her own surprise, she felt a spark of anger ignite in her chest. How could they do this? She demanded. How could Mom betray us like this? And Uncle Adam, I trusted him. Ethan pulled her into a hug, and Olivia let herself cry into his shirt. As her sobs subsided, she pulled back, wiping her eyes. "What are you going to do?" she asked, echoing Claire's earlier question. Ethan hesitated, clearly wrestling with how much to tell her. "I'm going to make sure they cannot hurt us anymore," he said finally. "I am going to protect you and Jack. No matter what." Olivia nodded slowly. Then, squaring her shoulders, she made a decision. "I want to help." Ethan's eyes widened. "Olivia, no. This is not your fight. I do not want you involved in this mess." "I am already involved," Olivia argued. "They betrayed me too. And I want to help make it right." Ethan studied her face for a long moment. Then, with a mixture of pride and sadness, he nodded. "Okay," he said softly. "But we do this carefully. And if at any point you want out, you tell me. Deal?" "Deal." Olivia nodded, a new determination settling over her. As Ethan left her room, Olivia's mind was already racing with possibilities. She may be young, but she was smart, and she knew her mother better than anyone. If her father needed inside information, who better to provide it than a seemingly innocent teenage daughter? Lily Caldwell was losing her mind. There was no other explanation for the constant feeling of being watched. The prickling sensation on the back of her neck. The way shadows seemed to move in the corners of her vision. She jumped at every unexpected sound, flinched at every touch. Even Adam, once her source of comfort and excitement, now felt like a threat. His impatience, his growing desperation. It was all too much. Olivia's voice made her start. "Are you okay?" Lily forced a smile, turning to face her daughter. "Of course, sweetie. Just a little tired. How was school?" Olivia shrugged, dropping her backpack on the kitchen counter. "Same old. Hey, I was thinking, maybe we could have a girls' day this weekend. Go shopping, get our nails done." Lily blinked, surprised. Olivia had been distant lately, wrapped up in her own teenage world. This sudden desire for mother-daughter bonding was unexpected, but not unwelcome. "That sounds lovely," Lily said, her smile genuine this time. "Saturday?" Olivia nodded, grinning. "It is a date." As her daughter bounded upstairs, Lily felt a pang of guilt. She had been so wrapped up in her affair with Adam, in their plans for the future, that she had neglected her children. Maybe this was a sign, a chance to reconnect, to remember what really mattered. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Another text from Adam. No doubt another demand for updates. For reassurance. Lily ignored it. For now, at least, she wanted to focus on her daughter, on being a good mother. She had no idea that Olivia's invitation was anything but innocent. No idea that her daughter was now an active player in the game of deception and revenge, a game that was about to destroy everything Lily held dear. "Ethan." She forced herself to take a deep breath, schooling her features into a mask of calm curiosity. "Hey," she said as he walked in. "How was the gala?" Ethan's face was unreadable as he loosened his tie. "Eventful," he said simply. "We need to talk, Lily." The calmness in his voice sent a chill down her spine. This was not the reaction of a man who had just discovered his wife's betrayal. This was something else entirely. "What's going on?" she asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Adam called," Ethan said, his voice deceptively even. He sounded upset about something at work. Lily swallowed hard. Just that there were some problems, she stammered. Something about an investigation. Ethan nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving her face. That's right. We've uncovered some discrepancies in the company finances. Quite serious ones, actually. He took a step closer, and Lily instinctively backed away. The funny thing is, Lily, he continued, his voice like ice, a lot of these discrepancies seem to lead back to Adam. And to you. Lily felt the blood drain from her face. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. I'm not involved in the company finances. No? Ethan's voice was dangerously soft now. Then perhaps you can explain why there are large sums of money being transferred from our joint account to an offshore one. In your name. Lily's mind raced. How had he found out? They had been so careful. Ethan, I can explain, can you? He cut her off. Can you explain the affair too, Lily? Can you explain why my wife and my best friend have been plotting to destroy me? The mask of restraint slipped then, revealing a cold fury that made Lily take another step back. How long have you known? She whispered. Long enough, Ethan said. Long enough to gather all the evidence I need. Long enough to make sure that when I'm done, you and Adam will have nothing left. Panic rose in Lily's throat. This could not be happening. It was not supposed to go like this. The children will stay with me, Ethan finished. You really think any judge would grant custody to a woman who tried to defraud her own husband? His voice sharpened. Who was planning to leave her children without a penny to their name? Tears welled in Lily's eyes. Please, Ethan, we can work this out, she pleaded. For the kids' sake. Do not dare bring the children into this, Ethan snarled, his composure finally cracking. You lost the right to use them as a bargaining chip the moment you decided to betray this family. He turned away, his shoulders rigid with tension. I've already spoken to my lawyer. You'll be served with divorce papers in the morning. I suggest you start packing. Lily felt her world crumbling around her. This was not how it was supposed to go. They were supposed to win. She and Adam were supposed to have everything. What about Adam? She asked, her voice small. Ethan glanced back at her, his eyes cold. Oh, don't worry, he said. I have special plans for Adam. By this time tomorrow, he'll wish he had never even thought of crossing me. And then he walked out. Lily sank to the floor, her body racked with sobs. How had it all gone so wrong? And more importantly, what was she going to do now? Across town, Adam sat in his darkened office, a glass of whiskey trembling in his hand. His phone had been ringing nonstop. Board members demanding explanations. Investors threatening to pull out. Reporters sniffing for a story. He had tried calling Lily, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Had Ethan gotten to her already? Were they too late? A soft knock at the door made him jump, sloshing whiskey over his hand. Go away, he called out, his voice hoarse. The door opened anyway. Claire, Ethan's lawyer friend. Adam felt his stomach drop. This could not be good. Hello, Adam, Claire said, her voice cool and professional. I think it's time we had a chat, don't you? Adam slumped in his chair. I suppose there's no point in denying anything, he muttered. Claire shook her head, taking a seat across from him. No, there isn't, she said. We have everything, Adam. The falsified accounts. The offshore transfers. Even records of your meetings with Lily. Adam closed his eyes, feeling the last of his hope drain away. What does Ethan want? He asked, already knowing the answer. Everything, Claire said simply. The company. Your assets. Your reputation. He wants you completely ruined, Adam. And legally, there's nothing you can do to stop it. Adam laughed bitterly. And I suppose you're here to offer me a deal? Some way to salvage something from this mess. Claire leaned forward, her eyes hard. No, Adam. I'm here to deliver a message. She held his gaze. Ethan wants you to know that by this time tomorrow, you'll have nothing left. Your career will be over. Your reputation gone. And Lily? She tilted her head slightly. She's already gone. Adam felt the room spin around him. This could not be happening. It was not supposed to end like this. You might want to consider leaving town, Claire continued, standing up. Things are about to get very unpleasant for you here. She reached the door, then hesitated. Adam found his voice. Wait, just one question. How long? His throat was dry. How long has Ethan known? Claire paused, her hand on the doorknob. Long enough, Adam. She glanced back at him. Long enough to make sure you never saw it coming. With that, she was gone, leaving Adam alone in the darkness of his office. He reached for the whiskey bottle with a shaking hand. It was over. Everything he had worked for, everything he had sacrificed, gone in the blink of an eye. And the worst part? He had no one to blame but himself. As the first rays of dawn began to creep through his office window, Adam Matthews sat alone, surrounded by the ruins of his life, waiting for the final blow to fall. The courtroom was packed. A sea of faces turned toward the defendant's box. Adam Matthews, once a titan of industry, now sat slumped in his chair, his expensive suit hanging loosely on his frame. The past months had aged him, etching deep lines into his face, turning his hair prematurely gray. Ethan Caldwell sat in the front row, his face a mask of cool indifference, but inside his heart raced. This was it. The moment. Staring at the screen, his mind racing through possibilities. How had Adam managed this from behind bars? Had he anticipated his own downfall and set this up as a contingency plan? Or was there someone else involved, someone pulling the strings from the shadows? His hands clenched into fists as a cold realization settled over him. This was not over. Not yet. A knock at his office door made him jolt. He quickly closed the laptop, steeling himself before calling out, "Come in." Claire stepped inside, her expression immediately shifting to concern when she saw his face. "Ethan, what is it?" she asked, stepping closer. He hesitated for a fraction of a second. Could he trust her with this? She had been by his side through everything. But if this account had truly been hidden even from her, how could he be sure? "Nothing," he said finally, forcing his voice to stay even. "Just another long night." Claire studied him, her sharp gaze searching his face for the truth. "Ethan," she said softly, "we have been through too much for you to start shutting me out now. Whatever it is, tell me." Ethan exhaled slowly, then turned the laptop back around, reopening the account details. Claire leaned over his shoulder, scanning the screen. Her sharp intake of breath confirmed she understood the gravity of what she was looking at. This looks bad," she admitted, her brows furrowing. "But it is planted, right? You did not do this." "Of course I did not," Ethan snapped, running a hand through his hair before sighing. "Sorry. Claire, I don't know how deep this goes. Adam should not have had access to anything from prison, but someone helped him. Someone put this in place to destroy me." Claire nodded, her expression turning to steel. "Then we find out who, and we fix this." Ethan met her gaze, something shifting inside him. For months, he had been in control, pulling the strings, dismantling his enemies with precision. But now, someone had turned the game against him, and for the first time in a long time, he was on the defensive. He was not about to let that stand. "Call Reed," Ethan said, referring to their trusted cybersecurity expert. "Tell him I need him digging into every hidden account, every transaction. If someone thinks they can outmaneuver me, they are about to learn just how wrong they are." Claire nodded, already pulling out her phone. "Ethan," she hesitated, looking back at him. "Are you sure you're okay?" Ethan forced a smirk, though it did not reach his eyes. "I will be." But as he watched the numbers on the screen, as he traced the digital breadcrumbs left behind, he knew one thing for certain. Whoever thought they had won, whoever thought they could destroy him, had just made their biggest mistake. Because Ethan Caldwell was just getting started. Staring at the screen, Ethan slowly, deliberately, reached out and closed the laptop. He took a deep breath, then another. No, he would not let this destroy him. He had come too far, sacrificed too much. This was just another obstacle to overcome, another battle to be won. Ethan stood, straightening his tie. He had work to do. Weeks turned into months. Ethan worked tirelessly, dismantling the hidden account piece by piece, carefully erasing any trace of its existence. It was dangerous, painstaking work. One wrong move, and everything could come crashing down. But he was not alone. Claire was there, working late into the night, her legal expertise proving invaluable as they navigated the treacherous waters of corporate finance. And to Ethan's surprise, Olivia stepped up too. At 15, she was already showing a keen mind for business, her youthful perspective often providing insights that Ethan and Claire had overlooked. It was during one of these late-night sessions that Olivia finally broached the subject they had all been avoiding. "Dad," she said hesitantly, "are you and Claire, you know?" Ethan looked up, startled. He glanced at Claire, who had suddenly become very interested in her laptop screen. "No, sweetheart," he said softly. "Claire is a good friend. She has been a great help to us during this difficult time, but that is all." Olivia nodded, but Ethan could see the wheels turning in her mind. "It's okay, you know," she said finally. "If you were. Mom made her choice. You deserve to be happy too." Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. When had his little girl grown up so much? "Thank you, Olivia," he managed. "That means a lot." As Olivia turned back to her work, Ethan caught Claire's eye. She gave him a small smile, warm and understanding. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt a flicker of hope for the future. The day they finally dismantled the last of Adam's hidden account, Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It was done, truly done this time. Adam's final trap had been dismantled, the threat neutralized. As he stood in his office, looking out over the city, Ethan allowed himself a moment of quiet triumph. He had won again. But this time, the victory did not taste bitter. This time, he had done it the right way, with hard work, with integrity, with the help of those he trusted. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Claire, a bottle of champagne in hand. "I thought we might celebrate," she said with a smile. Ethan nodded, grabbing 2 glasses from his desk. As Claire poured, he found himself studying her. The way the setting sun caught her hair, the intelligence in her eyes, the strength in her posture. He realized, with a start, that somewhere along the way, his feelings for her had deepened into something more than friendship. "Claire," he began, his voice rough with emotion. "I do not know how to thank you. For everything. For standing by me through all of this." Claire set the bottle down, her eyes meeting his. "You do not have to thank me, Ethan," she said. "I did it because I care about you. Because I believe in you." Ethan took a step closer, his heart pounding. "And if I told you that I care about you too? That maybe I am ready to move forward." Claire's breath caught. For a moment, they stood there, the air between them charged with possibility. Then, slowly, Claire reached out, taking Ethan's hand in hers. "Then I'd say it's about time," she whispered. As Ethan leaned in, drawing Claire into a kiss that was both an ending and a beginning, he felt the last pieces of his old life fall away. The betrayal, the pain, the bitterness, it was all in the past now. The future, bright and full of promise, lay ahead. As Ethan turned to join his family, a flicker of movement caught his eye. There, across the street, partially hidden behind a tree, was a familiar figure. Lily. For a moment, their eyes met. Ethan saw the ravages of the past year etched on her face, the loss, the regret, the desperate longing for what she had thrown away. He felt a twinge of something. Not forgiveness. Not quite. But perhaps understanding. They had both changed. Both lost a part of themselves in this ordeal. Lily raised a hand, a tentative wave. Ethan nodded in acknowledgement. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. As they drove out of the neighborhood, leaving behind the scene of so much turmoil, Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror. He saw not just the house fading into the distance, but the man he used to be, the trusting husband, the naive friend, the man who believed in the inherent goodness of people. That man was gone now, burned away in the crucible of betrayal and revenge. In his place was someone new. Someone harder, yes, but also wiser. Someone who had stared into the abyss of his own darkness and come out the other side. Ethan looked at Claire beside him, at Olivia and Jack in the back seat. His family, his future. He had lost much in the past year, but he had gained something too. A clarity of purpose. A strength he never knew he possessed. As they crossed the city limits, leaving behind the remnants of their old life, Ethan felt a sense of peace settle over him. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but he was ready for whatever it might bring. After all, he was Ethan Caldwell, and he had learned the hard way that the best revenge was not just about winning. It was about surviving. About becoming someone your enemies never saw coming. And in that, he had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams.